Let's just be honest, ladies and gentlemen, whenever anybody speaks about Meghan Markle, Meghan and Harry, like we have on this channel, many times it's because 99.9% of the time, they've completely embarrassed themselves, right? From cringeworthy documentaries, memoirs, hilarious South Park skits, to them being chased around New York for 2 hours like it was a Fast and Furious film or something. That totally happened. But today, it's all about the Meghan Markle podcast. You see, Spotify made the risky investment not so long ago of £15 million, $20 million. They paid her for this podcast. And it is a risky investment, because you must know you're going to lose money when you invest that sum into someone that is going to bore people to sleep and talk about stories nobody really has an interest in. It is honestly like throwing your money away, right? It is nothing compared to a Joe Rogan podcast. Doesn't come anywhere near it, and this is a key indicator for these companies to invest in people, not in just their name, right? When people hire these people for podcasts, etc., a lot of the time it's because of their name and not the talent. But Meghan Markle's podcast was all about labels that are holding women back in today's world. Okay, that sounds like a great thing to talk about, right? Great thing on the surface of it, but when it comes from one of the most privileged women on the planet, has more privileges than 99.9% of women, it seems really relatable, right? I'm sure a load of women can relate to that. And when she's coming out with things like, the word difficult is code word for the B word, I can't imagine why women aren't tuning in. It does seem really captivating. I personally would tune in. It sounds great, if I'm going to be honest. Meghan Markle's Archetypes podcast is axed by Spotify's streaming platform, and Sussexes agreed to part ways with royal pair set to lose full payout due to low productivity. Meghan Markle's Spotify podcast Archetypes will not be renewed for a second season as the audio company begins to make changes and revamp its output, it has been confirmed. The streaming giant and the Sussexes audio production company Archwell Audio released a joint statement on Thursday night saying they have mutually agreed to part ways and are proud of the series we made together. Meghan and Harry reportedly signed a £50 million deal with Spotify for the project in late 2020, but insiders close to the audio giant claim the royal couple did not meet the productivity benchmark required to receive the full payout, the Wall Street Journal reported. So it seems like, they didn't put any work in with the podcast anyway. They just thought their name would do all the heavy lifting. And now I do also understand Spotify are cutting jobs, so that could have saying things. But when people hear the name Meghan and Harry, Meghan Markle, Harry, they don't really want anything to do with it any longer, if I'm going to be honest. When people hear that name, they want to run in the opposite direction because they know anything associated with them. And I don't think this is really controversial to say, their track record proves it, but when they're involved with anything, people know they're just going to get lies, exaggeration, and if I'm going to be honest, just boredom. When a couple is claiming constantly they want privacy, we want privacy, that's going to confuse a load of people. They're going to sit there and think, well, do you want privacy? Do you want us to give us privacy, or do you not want privacy? It's confusing to me. So, when a couple is telling people one thing, but they act in another way and they're doing everything to stay relevant, people are going to lose interest with you. They're going to see you not being authentic, as many people are starting to learn as the years go on. But when you go back and you look at the trailer that was created for this Meghan Markle podcast, this visual trailer, right? And I want you guys to be honest with me. Okay, leave your comments down below. When you see this and you see how Meghan Markle presents herself, right? Would it entice you to go and listen to this podcast? Be honest with me, okay? Take a listen.
People should expect the real me in this, and probably the me that they've never gotten to know. Certainly not in the past few years, where everything is through the lens of the media, as opposed to, hey, it's me. I'm just excited to be myself and talk and be unfiltered, and yeah, it's fun.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, guys, right? And you can probably tell with the look on my face and my monotone voice, I am on the edge of my seat here right now. And if I watch that again, I am truly going to fall off it, okay? And nobody wants that. But after watching that, okay, you would assume that this podcast is going to be about me. It's me. It's my life story. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about and the stories I want to tell, right? It's just when the person who is saying those things isn't that interesting and nobody really cares, if I'm going to be honest, that is a recipe for disaster. But for those of you who are on the edge of your seats, like me, right, and are just so captivated by that trailer and can't wait to hear what exciting stories Meghan Markle has to tell, don't you worry, guys. I have you covered today, because we are going to play a very short snippet of what the podcast is really like for the people who go out of their way to listen to it. And I'm going to thank Candace Owens for this one, because she used the very same snippet in her video. Full credit goes to her. But nevertheless, guys, here is the gripping drama, tension, and a bucket load of excitement. Take a listen.
When I was 14, I planned my wedding. Not my actual wedding. That would have been a bit harder to imagine. This wedding was an assignment for my Religion 2 class in Catholic school. At no point could you say, nope, my dream for the future is to be single. The message, even at my feminist all-girls school, was as traditional as it gets. First comes love, then comes marriage.
Or have I woken back up in the old reality where men are men and women are women? No, of course not. But all jokes aside, right, does this really surprise anybody? I don't really know what the incentive is to go and listen to a Meghan Markle podcast. Maybe you guys who have watched it, maybe any of you could let everybody know, because we are really struggling to find an answer here. But I just think people have grown tired of the Meghan Markle and Harry story. Like, even people who liked them in the very beginning, even they're probably getting tired of it. And when you've constantly listened to a couple, Meghan Markle, Harry, harp on about how much hardship they've gone through, and they're doing it through documentaries, they're telling all these stories and memoirs, podcasts, when they've come from one of the most wealthiest, privileged families that are associated with that family, it just doesn't make any sense to anybody. When I hear somebody saying that stuff and they've come from the royal family, I sit there and I'm like, well, that's clearly not authentic. I don't know who you're trying to fool here. They did fool millions of people for quite some time, but slowly but surely, a load of people are waking up to the bullshit they tell. But what does make a good podcast then? And I'm not claiming to be a podcast guru. I just don't think Meghan and Harry have a clue. So if they're watching, maybe take some notes. But when people want to listen to a podcast, right, it's because it's relatable. Nobody wants to listen to somebody who's talking down to them. Right? Nobody listens to somebody they can't relate to. And when you have a woman, Meghan Markle, talking about the struggles women go through, the labels that are holding women back when they're associated with one of the wealthiest families, how many people can relate to that? People listen to podcasts because they want to feel like they're also in the room with those people, right? When people are talking in the podcast, they want to feel like they're also in on the conversation. And I've seen people on social media, again, talking about this podcast, and it seems like Meghan Markle doesn't know how to be relatable. She doesn't know how to ask the questions. She's not a great interviewer. Apparently, she just asked the questions, the guest spoke, and then she made it all about her again. That's not what to do. To be the best in that, and many people get this wrong, is to be the best listener, to listen. That's the best way to be a good conversationalist. And then on top of that, have captivating guests. People are drawn in by the guests. This is why Joe Rogan is so successful. Right? I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast quite a bit, and so do many other people. We feel like we're in the room with those people. We feel like we can relate to them. I know Meghan Markle's avenue with this podcast is a lot different to the Joe Rogan one, but you can use techniques that they use in your own one. But it just seems like Meghan Markle and Harry obviously thought, well, our names are quite huge and people are just going to tune in for that reason. Well, no, they're not going to. People want something worth listening to. And when you're going to constantly lie, tell exaggerated stories, and keep on complaining about how much you've been through, people just get bored of it. People want to sit there and be really captivated by the stories you tell, not hear the same story every single day. However, saying all of that, right, there is a great use for Meghan Markle's podcast, and I found this one out, okay? If you're struggling to sleep at night, all the chatter in your mind just won't silence, trust me, okay? If you put a Meghan Markle podcast on in the background, you're going to be sleeping all through next week. It's a great cure. It really is. But ladies and gentlemen, leave your comments down below about all of this. Are you surprised Meghan Markle's podcast has been axed by Spotify? I would like to know. If you have enjoyed today's video, then please, for me, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button and turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. But until next time, until tomorrow, has been your boy JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.